Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a brewing corporate turf war. Inside the modern enterprise, a seismic shift is happening right under the surface, completely changing who holds the keys to the data kingdom. For years, one executive has basically ruled the data roost, but a new law just dropped a powerful new player into the mix, creating what we're calling the governance paradox. We're going to look closely at the tension between the CISO and the DPO, and how companies can navigate this incredibly tricky divide. Okay, let's dive into this.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1, meet the data custodians. 2, the regulatory shift. 3, the governance paradox. 4, the conflict of interest. And 5, achieving organizational harmony. All right, section 1, meet the data custodians. 2 roles, 1 turf. So, for the longest time, things were actually pretty straightforward. Enter the CISO, or Chief Information Security Officer. The CISO is the traditional custodian, right? The ultimate data guard. Historically, if it was data, whether that's an employee's home address, a customer's credit card, or a highly confidential schematic for a new product, the CISO was in charge of locking it down. They protected all of it, personal and non-personal data alike. They were the undisputed ruler of the digital fortress. But recently, a new kid on the block has arrived, the DPO, or Data Protection Officer. But notice the crucial distinction here. The DPO is a newly appointed custodian, but their mandate is hyper-focused. They are specifically in charge of personal data. Suddenly, the CISO's traditional monopoly? It's broken. You now have a second, highly ranked executive walking the halls, demanding to know exactly how a large chunk of the company's data is being handled. I mean, you can see how this immediately complicates things. Moving on to Section 2, the regulatory shift. Changing the game. So, why the sudden change? Well, the company's legal obligations are now fundamentally split right down the middle. On one side, the CISO operates under an older framework, the ITA 2000. When a breach happens, the CISO's job is to report to CERTAIN, the National Nodal Agency for Computer Security Incidents. But on the flip side, the DPO operates under the new DPDPA, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. If personal data is breached, the DPO bypasses CERTAIN completely and goes straight to a brand new authority, the Data Protection Board, or DPB. 2 completely different laws, 2 different reporting bodies, 2 different executives. But here's where the legal reality gets a bit, well, murky. The DPDPA states that the DPO will represent the significant data fiduciary under the provisions of this act. But what does that actually mean in practice? The law explicitly states the DPO will be responsible to the board of directors, and they absolutely must be based in India to act as a point of contact for grievances. But beyond just providing a business contact, their exact internal purpose and operational scope, they're left surprisingly ambiguous. To clear up this ambiguity, we can look to the DGPSI framework. It gives us a really solid definition. It says the DPO is responsible for the implementation of technical and organizational measures for compliance and, crucially, for representing the organization with the outside world, including answering to any data principal. Guys, this is a real game changer. It means the DPO isn't just some administrative grievance contact. They are practically a second data custodian, deeply involved in the technical measures of the company and answering directly to the public. Section 3, the governance paradox. Overlapping scopes. Now, you might be thinking, well, the DPO handles personal data, the CISO handles non-personal data, just keep them separate. But you can't. Protecting personal data is actually a precedent to protecting non-personal data. Why? Because on a purely functional level, information security threats are the direct consequences of privacy threats. Think about it. If an employee or a customer suffers identity theft, which is a privacy issue, hackers then use that stolen identity to launch cyber attacks, steal corporate secrets, and cause massive financial losses, which is a security issue. The two are permanently intertwined. And let me highlight exactly why this matters right now. We are firmly in the AI era. We're dealing with synthetic identity threats and literal fraud committed by incredibly convincing fake AI-generated personas. Preventing this kind of hyper-advanced identity fraud is technically the DPO's responsibility, right? Because it involves personal data. But these are high-end technical issues. This is the exact kind of deep-tech cybersecurity trench warfare that the CISO usually handles. A DPO might find these issues incredibly hard to digest alone. They absolutely must work in unison. Section 4. The conflict of interest. A fiduciary nightmare. It's probably the most natural question in the world right now. If the CISO and the DPO have to work together so closely, and their tech overlaps so much,
Can one executive just do both jobs? Can we just give the CISO the title of DPO, hand them two different business cards, and call it a day to avoid the friction entirely? The answer is a definitive, resounding no. Do not do this. While your CFO might love how efficient it looks on a spreadsheet, putting one person in both seats creates a profound conflict in their fundamental purpose and their end objectives. The crucial point really comes down to a two-hats problem. The CISO is essentially an internal soldier. Their primary job is to protect the organization, to defend the fort from the outside world. Conversely, the DPO is a public fiduciary. Their primary job is to protect the data principles, meaning us, the public, often holding the fort itself accountable. A soldier protecting the company cannot simultaneously act as the independent diplomat holding that exact same company accountable to the public. They have to be completely distinct roles. Section 5. Achieving Organizational Harmony. The solution. Let's look at how current laws build a structural trap that management absolutely must actively diffuse. The DPO is mandated by the new privacy laws to report directly to the board of directors. The CISO traditionally is not mandated to do so. This means, by default, the law essentially hands the DPO a status higher than the CISO. You can imagine the tension this creates for the CISO, who's been guarding the company for years. Management absolutely needs to resolve this imbalance to ensure these two senior executives can actually function together. Fortunately, the source material offers a brilliant roadmap, the DGPSI structural solution. It's a three-step process to level the playing field. Step 1, the organization needs to form a dedicated governance committee. Step 2, appoint an independent director to head this committee, ensuring objective oversight. Step 3, and this is definitely the most important one, ensure that both the CISO and the DPO report equally to this committee. By having both executives report to the exact same independent director, you create an absolute equality of status. No one outranks anyone. They're forced to collaborate as peers. And that brings us to the end of our analysis, but I want to leave you with this provocative thought straight from the source text. Are there better ways of organizational structure? The governance committee model brilliantly balances the internal soldier with the public fiduciary. But as AI threats evolve and data laws become more complex, will this equality model be enough? Or is this just the first draft of modern corporate data governance? It's a fascinating paradox, and one that literally every major organization is going to have to solve. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.